Hello, drama lovers, welcome back to my channel today. Nick threatens to end Matt as Adam panics that his brother is going over the edge. Tensions reach a boiling point as Newman finds himself consumed by anger, frustration, and a desperate need for justice. What begins as a determined effort to stop Matt quickly spirals into something far more dangerous, leaving Newman increasingly worried that his brother may be losing control. The situation has been escalating for weeks. Matt's actions have left a trail of destruction throughout Genoa City, affecting nearly everyone in his path. Friends have become enemies, families have been torn apart, and trust has become nearly impossible to find. While many residents have been searching for ways to protect themselves from Matt's schemes, Nick has taken the conflict more personally than anyone else. The reason is simple. Matt's choices have caused tremendous pain for people Nick loves. Watching innocent lives suffer has ignited a fire inside him that refuses to burn out. Every new betrayal, every manipulation, and every devastating revelation has only strengthened Nick's determination to make Matt pay for everything he has done. At first, Nick attempted to handle the situation through legal means. He gathered information, worked with trusted allies, and hoped that evidence would eventually expose Matt's wrongdoing. However, each time it appeared that Matt was finally cornered, he somehow managed to escape the consequences. That pattern has become unbearable for Nick. Each victory Matt achieves feels like a personal insult. Each successful deception adds to Nick's growing sense of helplessness. The more Matt slips away, the more dangerous Nick's mindset becomes. Adam is one of the first people to notice the change. Having spent years dealing with complicated emotions himself, Adam recognizes the warning signs. He sees how obsessed Nick has become. He notices the sleepless nights, the constant focus on Matt, and the increasing hostility in every conversation. Initially, Adam tries to convince himself that Nick is simply determined to protect his family. After all, Nick has always been fiercely loyal to those he cares about. But as the days pass, Adam begins to realize that something deeper is happening. Nick is no longer focused solely on stopping Matt. He wants revenge. That realization sends a chill through Adam. The brothers have had their differences over the years, but Adam knows Nick's heart better than most people realize. Beneath his tough exterior, Nick is usually guided by a strong moral compass. He believes in protecting others and doing what is right. Yet now, that moral compass appears to be spinning wildly. Adam witnesses several moments that raise serious concerns. Nick's language becomes increasingly aggressive. His threats become more direct. His patience disappears almost entirely. When Matt's name comes up, Nick's expression hardens instantly. It is as if every ounce of frustration, grief, and anger has become concentrated into a single purpose. Adam begins questioning whether Nick can still see the line between justice and vengeance. The concern grows after a particularly intense confrontation. During a heated discussion, Nick makes it clear that he is finished waiting for authorities to handle the problem. He argues that traditional methods have failed repeatedly and that someone must take decisive action. The statement alarms everyone present. What exactly does Nick mean by decisive action? That question lingers long after the conversation ends. Adam attempts to speak privately with his brother, hoping to calm him down. He reminds Nick that acting recklessly could destroy everything he values. He points out that Matt may deserve punishment, but that does not justify crossing dangerous boundaries. Unfortunately, Adam's words seem to have little effect. Nick insists that nobody understands the full extent of the damage Matt has caused. He argues that people continue underestimating the threat. According to Nick, every delay gives Matt another opportunity to hurt someone. His conviction is absolute. That certainty worries Adam more than anything else. People who believe they are completely justified can become capable of frightening choices. Meanwhile, Matt remains unaware of just how intense Nick's emotions have become. Confident in his ability to stay ahead of his enemies, Matt continues operating as though he is untouchable. His arrogance only adds fuel to Nick's anger. Every smug comment, every successful manipulation, every narrow escape, each one pushes Nick closer to the edge. As rumors spread throughout Genoa City, several people begin discussing Nick's increasingly unpredictable behavior. Some sympathize with his frustration. Others fear he may be heading toward disaster. The divide becomes impossible to ignore. Supporters argue that Nick has every reason to be furious. They point out that Matt has repeatedly escaped accountability. They believe extraordinary circumstances sometimes require extraordinary responses. Critics disagree. They warn that allowing anger to dictate decisions rarely leads anywhere good. In their view, Nick risks becoming exactly the kind of person he claims to oppose. The debate intensifies as events continue unfolding. At the center of it all stands Adam. Caught between loyalty to his brother and concern for his well-being, Adam faces an impossible situation. He understands Nick's pain. He shares much of the outrage directed toward Matt. Yet he also understands the dangers of obsession. Perhaps better than anyone, Adam knows what it feels like to be consumed by a single goal. He knows how easy it is to convince yourself that the ends justify the means. Most importantly, he knows how devastating the consequences can be. That experience motivates him to keep trying. Again and again, Adam attempts to reach Nick. Sometimes he appeals to reason. Other times he appeals to emotion. He reminds Nick of his family. He reminds him of his values. He reminds him of the kind of man he has always tried to be. Still, the results remain uncertain. Nick listens, but the anger never fully disappears. Instead, it continues growing beneath the surface. The situation becomes even more complicated when new information emerges about Matt's latest activities. The revelations confirm many of Nick's worst fears and strengthen his belief that immediate action is necessary. Rather than calming him down, the news has the opposite effect. Nick becomes more determined than ever. Adam can see the transformation happening in real time. The measured, thoughtful man he knows is being replaced by someone driven almost entirely by emotion. That shift terrifies him. Not because Nick is evil, but because good people can make terrible decisions when pushed too far. As pressure mounts, several key relationships begin feeling the strain. Friends who normally support Nick start questioning his judgment. Loved ones struggle to understand the intensity of his reactions. Some try offering advice. Others attempt interventions. Few make meaningful progress. Nick remains convinced that he is the only person willing to do what needs to be done. That mindset creates a dangerous sense of isolation. The more isolated he becomes, the less likely he is to listen to anyone else. Adam recognizes the pattern immediately. He understands that once someone reaches that stage, pulling them back becomes significantly harder. Nevertheless, he refuses to give up. Determined to prevent a catastrophe, Adam starts taking a more active role in monitoring the situation. He keeps track of Nick's movements, pays attention to his conversations, and watches for any sign that matters might spiral out of control. His vigilance is justified. There are moments when Nick appears frighteningly close to making a decision that could change everything. Moments where anger nearly overwhelms reason. Moments where one wrong choice could have irreversible consequences. The emotional stakes continue rising. For Nick, the conflict is no longer simply about Matt. It has become a battle for control. Control over his family's future. Control over the chaos Matt has created. Control over the fear that things may never improve unless someone steps forward. Unfortunately, pursuing control through anger rarely produces the desired outcome. That reality becomes increasingly apparent as the story unfolds. Adam desperately hopes his brother will realize it before it is too late. Yet uncertainty hangs over every interaction. Will Nick eventually regain perspective? Can he separate justice from revenge? Or has Matt already pushed him beyond the point of no return? Those questions dominate conversations throughout Genoa City. Everyone senses that a major confrontation is approaching. The tension is impossible to ignore. Nick's determination continues hardening with each passing day, while Matt remains as provocative and manipulative as ever. Their collision appears inevitable. What nobody knows is how far Nick is willing to go when that moment finally arrives. Adam fears the answer more than anyone. He has watched the warning signs accumulate. He has witnessed the obsession deepen. He has seen firsthand how rage can distort even the best intentions. That is why he remains on high alert. Not because he doubts Nick's character, but because he understands human nature. When pain, frustration, and anger reach critical levels, even strong people can lose sight of themselves. As the conflict races toward its explosive climax, Adam faces a heartbreaking possibility. The greatest threat may no longer be Matt alone. It may be what Matt has awakened inside Nick. If Adam cannot find a way to pull his brother back from the brink, the consequences could be devastating for everyone involved. The coming days promise answers. Will Nick find a path back to reason and restraint? Will Adam succeed in stopping a disaster before it happens? Or will Matt's relentless provocations finally push Nick beyond every limit he once respected? One thing is certain. The battle between Nick and Matt is reaching its most dangerous chapter yet, and the outcome could change countless lives forever. The closer Nick gets to confronting Matt, the more difficult it becomes for anyone to reach him. Friends who once could calm him down now find themselves facing a wall of determination that seems impossible to break through. Every warning is dismissed. Every concern is brushed aside. In Nick's mind, the situation has become painfully simple. Matt must be stopped no matter the cost. Yet beneath that confidence lies something much darker. Nick is carrying the weight of months of frustration. He has watched people he loves suffer repeatedly, while Matt continued to manipulate circumstances in his favor. Every time it appeared that justice was finally within reach, another twist allowed Matt to escape accountability. Those disappointments have accumulated, creating a storm of emotions that Nick can no longer contain. Meanwhile, Adam becomes increasingly convinced that time is running out. He notices subtle changes that others overlook. Nick is no longer interested in compromise. He no longer talks about finding solutions. Instead, his conversations revolve around consequences and payback. The distinction may seem small, but Adam understands how significant it truly is. The language people use often reveals what is happening inside their minds. And Nick's words suggest a man moving toward dangerous territory. Despite his fears, Adam refuses to abandon hope. He continues searching for ways to reconnect with his brother. He believes there must still be a part of Nick capable of stepping back before irreversible damage is done. One evening, Adam attempts another heartfelt conversation. This time, he decides honesty is the only option. He tells Nick directly that everyone is worried. Not just concerned, worried. Adam explains that people no longer recognize the man standing before them. The brother who once fought for fairness seems consumed by anger. The person who valued family above everything else appears willing to risk those relationships in pursuit of revenge. For a brief moment, Adam thinks his words might be working. Nick's expression softens. The tension in his voice eases, but the moment quickly disappears. Nick insists that everyone is focusing on the wrong problem. According to him, Matt remains the true danger. As long as Matt continues operating freely, nobody is safe. Nick argues that he cannot afford distractions, even if those distractions come from people who care about him. The response leaves Adam devastated. It becomes painfully clear that logic alone may not be enough. At the same time, Matt remains completely unaware of how close the situation is to exploding. He continues moving forward with his plans, convinced that he holds all the power. His confidence borders on arrogance, and that arrogance may ultimately prove costly. Matt has always relied on his ability to manipulate others. He believes he can outthink opponents before they become genuine threats. Unfortunately for him, emotions do not always follow predictable rules. Nick is no longer acting like someone focused purely on strategy. He is acting like someone who feels cornered, and cornered people can be unpredictable. As tensions rise, rumors begin circulating throughout Genoa City that Nick may be preparing to make a dramatic move. Nobody knows exactly what he is planning, but the speculation spreads rapidly. Some believe he has uncovered new evidence against Matt. Others suspect he intends to confront him directly. A few fear something much worse. The uncertainty creates an atmosphere of anxiety that affects nearly everyone connected to the situation. Even those who dislike Matt find themselves uneasy. They want him stopped, but not at the expense of Nick's future. The possibility that both men could destroy themselves in the process becomes increasingly real. Victor Newman eventually learns about the growing concerns surrounding his son. His reaction is complicated. On one hand, Victor understands Nick's anger. Few people know better than Victor how dangerous enemies can become when left unchecked. He has spent much of his life battling opponents who threatened his family and business empire. On the other hand, Victor recognizes the warning signs of obsession. He has seen them before, sometimes in others, sometimes in himself. That realization forces him to consider a troubling question. Has Nick inherited more than just his determination? The thought lingers in Victor's mind as he evaluates the situation. Unlike Adam, Victor approaches the problem differently. Rather than appealing to emotion, he focuses on consequences. He reminds Nick that every decision creates a chain reaction. One reckless action can trigger events impossible to reverse. A single moment of anger can undo years of hard work and sacrifice. For a while, Nick listens. But listening is not the same as changing. The anger remains. The obsession remains. The desire to make Matt suffer remains. As days pass, Adam becomes increasingly desperate. He starts considering possibilities he once dismissed. If talking cannot stop Nick, perhaps other measures are necessary. The idea troubles him deeply, but protecting his brother may require difficult choices. Unfortunately, events begin moving faster than anyone anticipated. A shocking development involving Matt sends shockwaves through the community. Details emerge suggesting that his latest scheme may have endangered more lives than previously believed. The revelation hits Nick particularly hard. For him, it confirms everything he has been saying. Matt is not merely a nuisance. He is a threat that must be eliminated. The news reignites Nick's fury with renewed intensity. Adam watches helplessly as his brother becomes even more determined. Every attempt at restraint appears to vanish. Every warning seems meaningless. The situation has evolved beyond a simple disagreement between brothers. It has become a race against time. The closer Nick moves toward confrontation, the more terrified Adam becomes. Late one night, Adam finds himself reflecting on their shared history. The brothers have endured countless battles over the years. They have argued, competed, betrayed one another, and eventually found ways to rebuild trust. Their relationship has never been easy, but it has always mattered. That history makes the current crisis especially painful. Adam is not simply worried about losing his brother to anger. He is worried about losing him entirely, because if Nick crosses certain lines, there may be no way back. The consequences could follow him forever. Those fears intensify when Adam receives information suggesting Nick has already begun putting a plan into motion. The details are vague. The evidence is incomplete. But the possibility alone is enough to send Adam into panic mode. He immediately begins trying to locate Nick. Phone calls go unanswered. Messages receive no response. Every minute feels longer than the last. As Adam searches desperately for his brother, he cannot shake the feeling that something terrible is about to happen. Elsewhere, Nick wrestles with his own emotions. Despite his anger, a small part of him recognizes the truth in what others have been saying. He knows revenge carries risks. He understands that hatred can cloud judgment. But every time doubt begins creeping in, memories of Matt's actions return. The betrayals, the lies, the suffering, those memories reignite his determination. Nick convinces himself that hesitation is a luxury nobody can afford. If he does nothing, Matt wins. If he waits, more people get hurt. At least that is what he keeps telling himself. The internal struggle becomes increasingly intense. Part of Nick still wants to believe there is another way. Another part believes alternatives no longer exist. The conflict tears at him from within. As dawn approaches, multiple lives stand on the edge of transformation. Adam is racing to prevent disaster. Victor is monitoring events with growing concern. Friends and family members are anxiously waiting for answers. And Matt continues operating under the dangerous assumption that he remains untouchable. None of them fully understand how close everything is to changing. The stage is set for a confrontation unlike any that has come before. Years of resentment, months of frustration, weeks of escalating tension. All of it is building toward a single moment, a moment that could define the futures of everyone involved. Whether that future brings justice, tragedy, redemption, or destruction remains impossible to predict. But one thing has become crystal clear. Nick Newman is standing at the most dangerous crossroads of his life, and Adam fears that one wrong step could send his brother down a path from which there is no return.